The second thing after your initial approach is learning to read the customer. Every person buys differently. They have their own personality. They have their own way that they like to make decisions. And our jobs as sales professionals is to realize that. So we identify what type of person this is, and we try to sell them in a way they want to buy so that they feel more confident in making that decision. I'll give you a couple examples. First off, you got your thinker. And this is a person who they make a decision once all their questions have been thoroughly answered. And so if you try to just win them over, push them to get into the sale without their questions being answered accurately, professionally, and thoroughly, they are not going to continue. They're going to bail out. They're going to back off of you. So once you identify, normally the thinker is going to ask some very specific questions. And you need to read that right away. Right away. You need to say, okay, I've got a thinker here. They're going to ask you some things. So you need to step back and say, you know what? I'm going to have to take longer time explaining how the TV service works, how their billing works, all those things. Doesn't mean you're not going to get the sale. In fact, you can actually, thinkers are easier to sell as long as you answer their questions accurately. So as long as you answer their questions properly, once they make up their mind, they've made up their mind. They're done. They're making it up. But you need to take your time and say, okay, I'm going to have to answer this thoroughly. So this is going to go back to your training. You're going to need to know your stuff. You're going to need to know what your system can do. How is their billing going to work? All those things. But you have to identify that, and you have to adjust as a sales rep immediately and say, this is a thinker. I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to answer their questions specifically. And that's going to make them feel more confident in you. That's going to make them like you more. Why? Because you're talking to them in a way they like to think. Okay? Again, this is adaptation. Second type of person is an entertainer. Normally, they're going to greet you with a smile. They're actually happy you're there. How you doing? What's going on? You can normally feel it. They really come off with just a certain spirit. And these are normally easier, in my opinion, to pick up on. Normally, they're going to have a smile. They're going to be very easy to talk to. This person makes more of an emotional decision. One thing that they're going to do is they're normally going to talk to you and tell you stories, tell you things. They have nothing to do with anything, but they're just going to tell you stuff. And your job is to listen and do what? Entertain them, because they're entertainers. They like to talk. They like to have conversations. They like to feel and get to know people. But what they do is make an emotional decision. Remember, a thinker, he makes a decisive decision once his questions have been answered. And an entertainer, they make more of an emotional decision. And here's an easy way. Can you imagine having the football game on Sunday with your friends around, and you've got every single game and the best high definition, right? And all your friends are around, and you can just switch back and forth with DirecTV's NFL Sunday Ticket, and every single game, every team that all your friends like, they can watch them all. What are you doing? You're painting a picture for them, so they're going to make an emotional decision because they want that. Does that make sense? That's an entertainer, right? And you may not be able to have to just sell them on the emotional decision of the purchase. They may just get to like you and then eventually just buy from you because they like talking to you. Again, this is the person I love. When I do this, I like to point out things that they're doing. Maybe they're, for example, a football fan, and I'll highlight that, and we'll chit-chat about the game. Maybe, their garage is open. I can see they got a muscle car in there, right? So I make a few highlights about. I talk about their muscle car. What are they going to do? They're going to bring me in there. They're going to chit-chat for about 10 minutes about their muscle car. Then I'm going to spin it back around after I hear everything about their muscle car, and I'm going to say, hey, you know what? What can we do for you to get you signed up with a new TV service? What happened? I became their friend. They're loving me. We're hanging out. And so now they want to make an emotional decision to buy something from me because they like me. Does that make sense? Okay. The last person is your dominant or your fighter. And this is the person, they're going to come to the door a little bit more aggressive. But they want to be in charge. And one of the things they hate about salesmen is when salesmen trying to push them a certain direction. So you've got to be real stealthy when you're with one of these type of people. You got to be stealthy, but you still got to ask questions in a way that makes them appear like they're in complete control. A prime example for this is say, give them options. Like, would you want HD service or a DVR, right? And your tone of voice. You're letting them let their voice be louder. Let them, you kind of come in and you're handing them something to make a decision. What do you think you would like to pay $50 a month less for your TV service? Yes, I would, of course. Or maybe they answer the door and they're telling you about how much they hate the cable service that they have. That's awesome. Keep poking that fire. Keep poking that fire. Yeah, cable doesn't have this. Yeah, I hate cable. Well, cable doesn't have a DVR like DirecTV does. Yeah, I know, I hate cable. Right? What are you doing? You're just stoking that fire, so you're making them feel like, you know what, I hate cable, I want to fight against them, and I want to make a decision with you guys. But it's all them. But what they don't know is you're building them up to it.